was listening to episode 35 of the High Stakes podcast.
Oh, you were you?
Yes.
One of the widely watched and liked, raved about episodes of that show ever, from what I hear.
It was. I was good. One, I didn't realize how much you had traveled.
Oh yeah, I've been all over the place.
Yeah, you literally can sing the song "I've Been Everywhere" international version.
Yeah, I've been.
All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Sunday. Slightly later, we're not being crowded out by the NBA, but we've got MLB Live before lock, 8-game main slate, 5-game late slate. We're going to talk about that main slate. I am joined by Terry McBride, Digital B21 over there on the Twittersphere. Terry, what's going on?
Oh, same old pal, doing a lot of day-by-day coverage on the MLB fronts. Happy to be here back on the Stokastic Network joining you. We've got Mikey in the producer cam holding up his EMac 2024 coffee mug, which I still got to get one of those. I'm here with my Jaws mug, but I got to get me an EMac 2024 mug. But yeah, doing good. It's been better in the coverage and analysis sense for MLB DFS so far than the results sense, but that's all right. It's kind of how this rolls. So we'll get a win in the book soon enough. But yeah, looking to tackle this one. It's an interesting slate today. Kind of psyched to talk about this one.
Yeah, it's pitching is well, it's something. Weather, we'll see. It looks like depending on where you're searching for your weather sources, you may get some bad information. I'm trying to figure out what's happening there in Pittsburgh. That looks like it's the only game that could be an issue. We've had all of the lineups out for, about good 30 minutes now. So this is, we're ready to rock here. We're going to get underway, and I'm going to see if I can not crash my computer by going to weather.com and turning on Weather in Motion here. What are your thoughts about the Pittsburgh game? We're going to start right there with the weather. It looks like it's raining right now, rained through this afternoon, but then it's totally clear.
Yeah, I think, and that was the word on it earlier today, and that's kind of just what I've been relying on, is just the idea of, potentially a late start, potentially a delay, but things clear up later in the day from what, my amateur meteorologist skills and what the word on the street out there is. You guys all know who we're all looking at. So that seems to be the report. There also seems to be a little bit of concern about some potential pop-up showers around the St. Louis area for the, we're talking about the Detroit St. Louis game. Losing my mind. The one I was thinking of initially was the Toronto-Pittsburgh game is the one that might delay and then go dry later on. It's the pop-up showers that we have to worry around the St. Louis area. That's just those typical Midwestern storms that just gin up out of no place, seemingly come and go fairly quickly, but can get really nasty and put a damper on a game. So if we get the start and stop, we get something like that, or if we get a really bad storm, it could delay. But it seems more likely to play from everything I've seen so far. I haven't looked at any of the traffic cams or anything yet, though.
Yeah, that's I've now shut down Weather in Motion because it makes things I have a brand new computer and it runs like crap. I have a beat up old work computer that runs amazing, and I've had it for 4 years. So I just have the worst luck with computers. And no, I do not go to any unsavory sites on my computer unless we count ESPN as an unsavory site, or those sports wagering sites, of course.
But you will click on anything that you're sent in our Slack or anything like that. So who knows what we're sending you in.
Exactly. That's always a challenge in and of itself. But so that takes care of the weather. We've kind of collected everybody. Hello and welcome. I want to remind everybody that we do appreciate you hitting that like button. That does help us keep the lights on here. We just crested over 88,000 subscribers. If you guys want to subscribe, hit that notification bell. You'll know every time we're going live. And not only do we have one YouTube channel, we've actually got 4. So check out the Odd Shop show on the Odd Shopper YouTube channel that runs Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock every weekday. And we're brought to you by SoWare. We'll talk about them in a minute, but let's kind of slide into the slate here. We're going to go game by game. We mentioned the Pirates, a bit of a weather issue there. You've got Yusei Kikuchi on the mound tonight, this afternoon. Could be tonight by the time they play, going against Ronzi Contreras. We have no safe pitching options today. You've got Garrett Cole in Tampa Bay. You got Sandy Alcantara. in Chicago. That's it. Everything else is dicey. And you got Steven Matz in a good matchup. I think this is just play 20% of everybody today and move on. What do you want to do with Pittsburgh and Toronto?
Yeah, so this is an interesting spot for bats to me. I think you can get away with, maybe if you wanted to go minor shares of Roansy Contreras, maybe you could get away with it. He's a 20-ish% strikeout guy, but he's been struggling. 11.4% walks this year, 5.15 xFIP. Was a little bit better overall last year, 4.48 xFIP, a 3.79 ERA, but struggle with premium contact, which is kind of what I'm zeroed in on this one. So I was getting pretty decent power numbers, not like everybody crashing through the top of my home run model, and we lose Vladdy Guerrero out of the Blue Jays lineup. He's still banged up day to day, but that top 6 for the Blue Jays is pretty good. You can attach Danny Jansen to that as a catcher play. So I'm more about the bats in this one on both sides. I really like the opportunity for the Pirates against Yusei Kikuchi. This is a pitcher we've targeted for quite a while. Even when he's been good, he's always had issues with the home run ball. For example, last year, 102 thirds innings, 27.3% strikeout rate, was really bad for walks, 12.8% walks. So he puts too many guys on base already. And then he gives up 47.1% hard hits, a 14.8% barrel rate, a 5.07% home run rate on 91.6 miles an hour of average exit velo. This is a target for bats. So the Pirates have been frisky. They're leading their division. They've, I think, lost 6 straight now, though. So good get right opportunity for them. Brian Hayes is a mess in the leadoff role, but he's hitting the ball hard when he does make contact, which is the one thing we can fall back on with him. He's very cheap. But then going Brian Reynolds, Connor Joe, Carlos Santana, Rodolfo Castro, Jack Sawinski is a pretty nice little run of bats there. Everybody's cheap. Everybody's projected for low ownership. I like the opportunity for Pittsburgh against this pitcher here. They might have surpassed Toronto in my esteem for this specific game on the back of no Vladdy Guerrero for Toronto, and then just pricing and ownership considerations. But both sides for me on the bats. If you wanted to go value on Roansy, I wouldn't call you wrong, especially with Vladdy out of the lineup at price. He's an okay mid-range option for me.
All right. Let me see where I am on pitching here, because I think this is rather interesting. I am going with 5% Roansy Contreras right now, and I have a 10% Yusei Kikuchi. That's it on DK. Remember, we got to play 2 pitchers there. This is a good dichotomy. I'm playing DK, you're playing FanDuel, so we got everything covered here. This is definitely kind of the old both sides are, as you like to say, in this one. But yeah, there is no cavalry coming over the rise. We're in trouble. There's no good pitching options today. Anything else you want to mention?
I do agree with you overall, right? In the overall sense, there's not a wealth of great ace caliber pitching options. Apologies to Garrett Cole and Sandy Alcantara. But there are interesting spots. There are viable spots. So I don't think it's as shallow as all of that. For me, Kikuchi, I just am way too concerned about the upside for run creation and power against him. He's not a pitcher that I trust at all. So at 8,800, if he was like 65, 72, something like that, maybe on DK, you could get me for some shares. 8,800, I don't think you're getting enough of a discount, and he's kind of popular, 14% owned. So I don't love that. The strikeout upside is there. He can certainly post a decent strikeout game, but the Pirates have been fairly good. They're good at avoiding the strikeout in the hole. There are a couple holes for that. Like Connor Joe, who's been great this year, 28.2% strikeout rate. Sawinski's at 31.7, but even struggling for Brian Hayes, 12.6. Brian Reynolds, their star, 18%. Carlos Santana, only 16.7%. They all walk at a very high level. You've got 6 out of the 9 hitters who are walking at decently above 10% rates so far this season, which, Kikuchi's been exceptional for him at a 4.7% walk rate over 31 1/3 this year. He was at 12.8% last year, 9.3% the year before. That's not going to hold up. So I don't love it. He's a guy who puts too many guys on base and gives up too much power. It's not a great spot for me.
All right. I just had oh my God, he's in the league on this team moment. Eric Hosmer.
Oh yeah.
Didn't realize that. He's with the Cubs.
He finally got cut as my one of my old school dynasty guys from like way back in the old Tino there. But yeah, finally dropped him off the roster because he's been unproductive for the better part of the last half decade or so.
Yeah, interesting. Well, good to see him. Good for him sticking around.
Yeah.
All right, on to our next game. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to have boots on the ground. Producer Mike's going to be in the stands here. We've got the Red Sox at the Phillies. This one is, of course, in Philadelphia. You've got Tanner Houck on the mound going against Taijuan Walker. Yeah, that's kind of my assessment of the pitching here. Definitely loading up on the Phillies. I don't think we'll be alone here. Surprise leadoff hitter, Bryson Stott, who has been hitting the cover off the ball. How do you feel about? Give us the lowdown on the pitchers, and then we'll focus on some offense here. There should be double-digit runs are projected here for this game, so this should be a fun one.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting one. It's a good test for Tanner Houck, who in the past has been very good in, minor samples, 13 starts, 69 innings in 2021, 4 starts, 60 innings, largely out of the bullpen last year, but he's been very good at limiting home run upside. So I'm not seeing a ton of home run hitting power come through for the Phillies here in my model. What we don't get out of Houck is major strikeout upside, 22.7% last year, even in a bullpen role. Somehow 30.5% in 69 innings 2 years ago, which I didn't really get a chance to look into what was going on differently there. But so far this year, 6 starts, 32 innings, 21% strikeout rate, too many walks at 9.4%. And he's given up more barrels, more launch angle, more average exit velo. The home runs are up from 1.21 last year, 1.40% the year before to 2.9% in the small sample. He hasn't been great, but he's typically pretty good at keeping the ball down. Only a 4.5 degree average launch angle, 4.9% barrels last year. So we need to see which version of Tanner Houck we get, but he does have the ability to keep a lineup in check. Even if he gives up a handful of runs, he might not give up those major power spots, those multi-home run games to the lineup as a whole. I do prefer, if I'm picking sides, I prefer the Phillies bats side of that equation. And I don't think Houck is necessarily that guy. But that's how it's coming through in my model. I would take shares of Phillies bats, but they're definitely getting popularity too. So like you get 12% on Stott on FanDuel, 9% on DK, 10% for Turner, 15%. And then you get into the 20s around Harper, Schwarber, and those guys, the big home run hitters. So you're paying a decent price. You're getting a lot of ownership on those bats against a guy who, at least in the past, has been good at keeping the ball down. So it's a good spot, not a great spot in my mind. It's a spot I will have and is coming through my model, but there is the idea that he might be able to cap some of the upside, might be able to find some strikeouts. It's not really leading me to a lot of shares of Houck, but it might cap my Phillies exposure a little bit.
Interesting take there. I am over the field on Phillies, so okay. That is one of my stands today. I think it's it's a very dangerous lineup.
It's a filthy elite lineup. I rave about this lineup. Even Mundo Sosa in the 9 spot is a viable bat. 2,300, 14.3% barrel rate, 30.4% hard hit in his 81 plate appearances, 3 home runs on the board and a 123 WRC plus. I mean, the least productive hitter in this lineup has been Trey Turner this year, which is kind of insane.
That is true, and they still have Rhys Hoskins coming back, right? So
he's gone for the year, I think, right?
Oh, is he out for the year?
I think he was out for the full year. He might be back late, but I know he wasn't a fantasy asset coming into this year because of the injury. Mikey's saying the whole area.
Bummer. Let's see what.
That's
left ACL tear. I thought it was not a full tear, but
but that's just how bananas good this lineup is that they can drop him and still be as productive as they've been. Just getting Harper back. I mean, this is a team on the upswing for sure. You mentioned Stott in the leadoff role. I do like him. He's cheap. He's a very good correlated scoring play with the stars later in the lineup, and you get him at 4,200, 2,800. Good at putting the ball in play. Decent at getting on base. He's slipped below 100 for WRC plus. He's 5% below average technically grading runs, but I don't really care about that in a small sample. He's going to correlate with Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, JT Realmuto, Alec Bohm, Brandon Martin. It's an absurdly talented lineup. At the same time, I think you can attack Taijuan Walker with Red Sox bats. How are you getting to the Red Sox here? Because they're fairly affordable on both sides.
All right, let me filter by the old Red Sox. I've got Yoshida, Tapia, and Devers are all 12 to 16% for me. Looks like I'm focusing mostly on 3-man or those 3, and then I got everybody else sprinkled in a little. But it looks like it's really coming down to those 3. It's probably because Verdugo is 4,800. I'm not getting nearly as much as of him, but Tapia is coming in at 2,100. So he's jumping off the page.
Tapia is super affordable. The Red Sox have been doing weird things with that 3 spot in their lineup. Tapia today, Ref Snyder's been getting regular starts in the 3 hole against lefties.
Yeah, Justin Turner's been in there.
Yeah, but I mean, Turner makes sense, at least from a historical sense, as a 3-hitter, right? That's a guy you picture in the 3-hole. Raimel Tapia is certainly not. And Rob Refsnyder is a journeyman utility player who's 32 years old. He's had a reasonable, and we shouldn't be talking about this, but regardless, he's had a few hits against lefties over the last few years. Like, he's been fine, but he doesn't hit for any kind of power. He doesn't reliably drive the ball. They moved him up to the leadoff spot, which is a more appropriate spot against the lefty the other day. But yeah, they're playing weird games with Tapia. They're running 7 lefties in a row off the top of this lineup against Taijuan Walker, though. He's a very much a league average type pitcher. You can get away with him today. He's a 22% strikeout rate guy, but he walks too many, gives up too much premium contact. So I greatly prefer the Red Sox side of that equation. You can get Taijuan, like I said, but I don't like him.
All right. So you ready to move on to the Twins and Guardians?
I mean, we can talk about anything else in this one that you want to talk about. Did we mention that Connor Wong is catching as a $2,300 catcher option on DK? He's hitting 9th, but I kind of really like Connor Wong if I'm looking for a cheap catcher on DK. 9.8% barrels, 43.1% hard hit in 78 plate appearances, 3 over the wall, 211 ISO, 116 WRC plus. Nice bat kid who came over in the Mookie Betts trade with Alex Verdugo. So somebody to keep an eye on and potentially roster as a cheap play for catcher on DK. How about that?
That is 4.5% for me. That's right around where the field is. Salvador or Perez is getting.
If you're going to a lot of Red Sox stacks, I would give him maybe a minor nudge, get a little above the field.
All right, fair enough.
Minor nudge. Let's not go crazy, but minor.
Let's see, Patrick Lawrence. Whenever you get the opportunity, cash SP for FanDuel. We'll get there, but spoiler alert, it's going to be Garrett Cole. We're a couple of games away from that, but that would be my recommendation. We'll see if Terry has one as well.
For cash, my recommendation would be to withdraw and enter a tournament. It's baseball. I don't play cash. I don't play cash for basketball or football either, but yeah, baseball, it just sounds insane to me.
No, it's an interesting concept. I'm going to drop the Spotlight Pitchers and Top Stacks article in there. That's free every day on the Stokastic homepage. I basically, if somebody's asking for the top 2 not named Cole Wall, Sandy Alcantara is probably going to be one of them, and then just close your eyes and pick somebody. I guess it would be Steven Matz, but no guarantees with him either. But we'll talk about that.
Are we completely fearing the hitting conditions in Kansas City? Because Mason Miller does not cost much, and he is lights out. That kid is filthy. He could find a ton of strikeouts against that Royals lineup. He could also get tattooed. The Royals are the lead team in my power index today, so it's a both sides are for me. But I think at price 7,700 FanDuel, 7,600 DK, I would be getting to a fair amount of Mason Miller. And in a cash situation, I think that's viable as an SP2 on DK. I don't know that I would go to him on FanDuel for cash.
All righty. Oh, I just was told I need to do an ad read. Wow. Okay. Let's do So Rare because they are sponsoring the show. We are an authorized partner of So Rare. It's one of the first places you can find a bonus for So Rare is right here. If you go down into our description here and click through the link, you can get 1 free limited card after you do your first 5 card purchases on the primary market. So limited cards are actually, they're limited, so they get they're more rare and but they're not so rare, if you know what I mean. But they are so rare at the same time. So check that out. There's only 5,000 limited cards, so you guys want to jump in there and get one of them. What is So Rare? Well, it is a digital trading card game based upon the Ethereum blockchain. So essentially what you do, similar to DK, Rainmakers, etc., you acquire player cards, put them into your lineups, and they run contests. Usually they're multi-day contests. For NBA, as they were running like Thursday through Sunday and Friday through Sunday and Thursday, or Monday into Thursday. Baseball, similar schedule as well, but we also have some So Rare shows that you guys can watch, and there's some content on the site as well. Check them out. It's a fun new way to play DFS, and it's a way that you can get a little bit of an advantage in an emerging market. Remember, being first to market there oftentimes is helpful as people are trying to figure out what to do and what not to do. So check that out. Thank you to So Rare. Okay.
Is interesting word choice.
Pardon?
Nothing.
Minnesota at Cleveland. The Guardians. You've got Joe Ryan in the mix as one of our pitchers today, but tough matchup going against Cleveland. On the other side, you have Cal Quantrill and his incredibly limited strikeout rate, just 11.7% this season. That's pretty bad. What do you want to do here with this battle of the Midwest?
Yep. Let me just flip back to that page real quick here. So yeah, I'm interested in some Joe Ryan. I don't love the start for price upside. Like he's 11,000 on the FanDuel slate, but he's not getting any ownership. So I'll take shots on that in tournaments. 10,000 on DK looks a little bit better. Very, very good pitcher. He's a guy I normally like in a vacuum. 30.1% strikeout rate this year, a 2.37 ERA with a 3.16 xFIP underneath it, a 0.76 whip. He's been excellent for walks, only 4.2% walks. He's giving up a little bit of premium contact in terms of hard hit and average exit velo, but only a 4.3% barrel rate to go with the 45.2% hard hits. We'll see where that comes out in the wash. He is a fly ball pitcher, so that is something that could give him, you know, a little bit of concern. If he makes a mistake, it might travel, but nobody on this Guardians team has been overly productive this year. Only Jose Ramirez is above average by WRC plus. Their star, he's sitting at a 116 WRC plus, but even he's not having a good start to his season. 283, 367, 441 is fine for most players. That's not Jose Ramirez. He's got 3 home runs. He's got 5 stolen bases in 147 plate appearances, only a 157 ISO. Everybody else in the lineup, well below average for run creation, not a ton of power. It's a team that, you know, coming into the year, I was saying a lot of nice things about. Great hit tools, a lot of speed, should be good for run creation, should be good with power because they've got Naylor and Bell to go with Jose Ramirez this year, but it just has not come together. So, you know, it's kind of a lineup filled with holes. The one thing that they don't do that aggressively is strike out that much. So that's where I come into a bit of a, well, kind of a concern with Joe Ryan here is if he doesn't hit that strikeout upside and they find some sequencing against him, or he makes that mistake for the long ball, then we're cutting into his upside for that price. That's the only concern I have about Joe Ryan. Odds are he puts up a pretty nice start here for the money. He's definitely a part of my plans today. Cal Quantrill, not so much.
Let me come in over here and see where I have Mr. Ryan. I have him on 17% of my DK rosters. Field is at 12. So
okay, yeah, I like that. He's definitely somebody I'd be interested in investing in a little bit ahead of the field, even with the, you know, the lousy first strikeouts matchup, just with the lack of production that the Cleveland's shown outside of that one game against my Yankees, where it seemed like everybody had a home run outside of that one.
All right.
Oh shit, that wasn't even Cleveland. That was the Twins. I'm mixing up my memories. It was Quantrill who actually had a good game for the Guardians against the Yankees. He shut down the Yankees over
his one good game of the year.
His one good game, basically. Yeah, he's not a good pitcher. He's holding a job for whatever that other prospect kid's name is.
Not Allen. Beebs.
No. Bibby's up. Allen's up. They've got one more. Garrison Matthews, I think it is. Okay. Something like that. He's better than the two of them. He's their apex kid, but he's not fully seasoned yet. They're thinking maybe a little bit down the line.
All right.
I forget if
let's see here. Alex Kirilloff in the lineup today.
Yeah, promoted yesterday. 2,200 on the FanDuel slate, 2,700 over on DK. Not getting a lot of attention in the heart of that Twins order, with everybody else pulling like above them, pulling like, you know, 10s, double-digit ownership, let's say. So that's an interesting spot. Kid who struggled a lot in his 2 cups of coffee at the major league level, but definitely a highly regarded hit tool, a highly regarded power bat. So I like Kirilloff in that spot. Him and Joey Gallo, 5 and 6% owns. I'll take my shots there. I don't need the bottom third of that lineup that much. Miranda, Gordon, and Vasquez are they're all fine. They're major league capable bats, but the top 6 I really like for Minnesota against Cal Quantrill. Like you said, 11.7% strikeouts tells the story. There's a ton of contact available against a hard hitting team like the Twins. That's a lot of upside.
Yeah, I've got the first 5 all double-digit ownership in my portfolio. Kirilloff has such a great power profile.
Yeah,
it's hard to go get away from. Every time he's up, he always comes out, or he pops in whatever you're looking at. Where's he in your home run model today? Or do you have enough of a sample size for him to?
Yeah. He's at a 5.28, which puts him like in the middle, right? So that's on the back of only 3 home runs in 156 plate appearances last year, 8 home runs in 231 plate appearances the year before, a 111 ISO, a 172 ISO going back, 2022, then 2021. So he hasn't. It's just on the major league production. What we expect in the hitter is probably not really translating through the model. If he had been up here for a while longer, to your point, with a bigger sample, he probably would have shown more power by now. So we're kind of in between with him, right? He's a hitter that I think is going to be good, and I think is going to hit for power, who's showing it like halfway right now. So it's a little tricky, but I like the spot, and especially where they have him hitting in this lineup.
Yeah, and 2,700 is just an absolute steal. And then
he should be more popular at that price. I mean, he's too low owned on both sides.
Yeah, I've just added some more because it was easy to get him, Buxton, and Gallo because you cost average down tremendously. So the 5,500 for Buxton is not much of an impediment at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm going 3x the field on Kirilloff. I'll make a little stand there.
I like it.
Have some fun.
And that's the great thing that those cheap bats buy you is the ability to average down the cost of stars. So you see, 6,200, 4,500 on FanDuel type guys. If you put that together with a $2,200 guy hitting behind him in the lineup, well, now you've suddenly taken that stars price down. You just average the two prices and you've gotten a bargain on your star. So it's with a good bat behind him. So it's the right way to go about it.
All right, here we are. Your Yankees.
Yankees.
Soon to be my Tampa Bay Rays. Driving down tomorrow. We're doing the cannonball run from Virginia to Tampa Bay.
Is that why you're moving from where you are now? You no longer want to root for the Nationals. You'd like to root for a very good baseball team instead of a very bad baseball team. Is that what it is?
I'm gonna have to get some Tampa Bay hats, I think, because all I have are Nationals hats at this point. I've got one lonely little Mariner hat somewhere. I haven't seen that in a while.
Well, judging by how they typically draw, immediately on moving into the area, you will probably become like a top 100 fan for them at worst. So I imagine it wouldn't be out of the realm of probability for you to grab some gear and make yourself known to the team.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. Okay, so the Yankees, Garrett Cole got all the strikeouts in the world. He is a phenomenal pitcher, somebody we can definitely look to. He is clearly the most popular option today. And then on the other side, you have Javi Guerra. No, not that Javi Guerra, the other Javi Guerra, who is pitching. What do you know about Guerra?
I know that he's not going to be pitching for very long, and then Josh Fleming's going to come in, and I don't want either of them.
It's
an opener. It's an opener bulk reliever situation. You don't need either side of it. Javi Guerra is a 1-2 inning guy, pure relief pitcher. Fleming 14.9% strikeout rate in 22 2/3 this year, mostly in bulk relief. Don't really need either side of that. That said, don't really need any Yankees bats, maybe some Anthony Rizzo one-offs. If you're stacking Yankees and you've got to do it for whatever reason, I'm not going to really be doing it very aggressively today. But you want basically the top 5 and nothing at all to do with IKF, Cabrera, Trevino, and Hicks. So it's a 5-man lineup for the Yankees today. I don't really like either side of it.
I'm looking at the minor. God, even the minor league numbers are not really good for Guerra. All right, waste of time. Sorry about that. Give a few words here on Garrett Cole for those people that are sadistic enough to be going to play cash today baseball.
So yeah, I mean, Cole's your obvious apex ace on this slate. He's getting the requisite ownership even at 11.5. He's pushing 43% ownership on DK. Same price on FanDuel, 25% owned. Should probably be a little bit higher with the thin nature of this slate. Obviously a ridiculously good opponent. The Rays have been fantastic this year. There are 2 guys who are below average for run creation in the lineup today, Manny Margot and Jose Siri. They're at a 95 and 99 WRC plus respectively. Everybody else is dramatically above average for run creation this year. Everybody is hitting for power. There are numerous players in this lineup with current year ISOs well above the 250 mark, let alone 200. This team hits for power. They create runs. They steal. They're really, really good. Garrett Cole is also really, really good at what he does. He's got a 3.46 xFIP, a 1.35 ERA on the surface. The 3.4 xFIP is more telling about who he is and how he's been this year. But he's not allowed a home run in his 7 starts, which is unique for him. Normally, he's got that habit of giving up 1 home run, a solo shot here and there that dings his score a little bit. No home runs given up this year. 4.6% barrel rate. He's been outstanding. 29.4% strikeouts. It's a dip from 32.4% last last year. And there's a little bit of concern for me. His swinging strikes have dropped from 14.3% last year just to 11.1% this year. CSW's dropped from 31.9 to 28.7. So I'm a little bit concerned about that in the long term. If I'm looking for a reason to nitpick with Garrett Cole against this team, that would be it. They are very, very good at waiting out those strikeouts and just tattooing a fat pitch from a pitcher. So that would be my one hang up. He projects as my top pitcher today. I will have a ton of him. I wouldn't be knocked out of my chair surprised if he gave up a few runs and didn't have a great start today. I would be pretty surprised if he gets absolutely obliterated. But I would also not be surprised if he has a very good Garrett Cole, 8-9 strikeouts, keep him to a run or two kind of a game and give us 7 solid innings. So I like Cole here. I think it's well worth the investment.
What are you doing with Cole on FanDuel, where we do get quality start bonus points? And I think that's in play for him today.
Yeah, I think, as long as we don't get that outing where he just randomly gets tattooed, which I don't, like I said, I don't think we're going to get. He's 25% owned. I'll see how it comes out in the wash, but I'll probably be around that at the least. I tend to try and spread out pitching shares. And there's a decent number of guys that like I mentioned before, that I think do have a little bit of value on this slate. So I might get just at 25%. It might be 20. But I'll be at worst around the field. Like, I'm not avoiding Cole by any means. I certainly want to have a good chunk of him today.
All righty. What part of Tampa Bay? It's I think it's called, technically it's St. Pete.
St. Pete?
Yeah. I think it's, there's like Treasure Island. Is that what it's called? Reddington Shores or Reddington Beach, something like that. It's kind of in that mix there. I was surprised at how Tampa Bay is very interesting in that everything's relatively close, but you can't get anywhere directly. Like, our friends live on like 10 miles away, and it takes like 40 minutes to get there because it's all surface streets. Like, you never touch the highway.
Got it. It's the opposite problem. It's the anti-Los Angeles.
Yes. Oh, I see. Mike's got me hooked up there with the
Tampa Bay swag. Nice. That's a good look for you. I like it. I think we go with it.
Yes. So we shall see. All righty. Anything else you want to mention in this game? I think we hit both sides of it, right? I think you carried the way.
I wouldn't get carried away stacking Tampa bats against Garrett Cole, but I really can't argue with it from a contrarian sense. The one thing I will point out to anybody considering doing that, it's not a big idea, not a big project of mine today. They are not priced down for the matchup against Garrett Cole, like at all. They're very expensive on both sides. So you're not really getting a discount. You are attacking certainly a lot of the field who will have Garrett Cole, and you're doing it with probably right now, at least the best lineup in baseball. So can't really argue with it. It's not a strategy of mine. I'll be on the Cole side of the equation.
All righty. I see actually a good question here in chat from Paul. It says, is the general consensus not to target bullpen and opener games? I would have thought it was the opposite. So we used to celebrate bullpen day, right? You were just getting the back of the rotation or some bunch of pitchers in there that they weren't starters for a reason. Challenge now, everybody throws in the upper 90s in bullpens. So you are typically getting high quality pitchers and multiple of them. So that's changing approach, style, et cetera. Usually you don't get to see the pitcher more than twice, and sometimes you only get them one per. That makes it a lot tougher now in these days. The other thing about the bullpen games is or when they use the opener, usually they're going to go 1, maybe 2 innings, but the goal is to get by the first part of the order and hopefully not give up too much. Then you bring in your bulk relief guy who's not quite as good, but he's starting with the back half of the order. So when it turns around, he's only going to face the good portion of the order once instead of facing the good portion of the order twice and getting bopped from the game. So that's kind of the strategy and theory behind it. So it's not like it used to be, let's roll everybody out. All the starters had a good time on Saturday night. It's Sunday, but we're doing a bullpen game. It's not like it used to be anymore.
Yeah, the approach is wildly different. Like you said, it's a power high leverage arm starting the game. That's the whole idea here, is you're just going to take the top 6 hitters out of the lineup for the first time around, by sitting them down with a premium arm. So that's the approach. And just, yeah, to your point, bullpens just aren't constructed with spare parts and aging veterans anymore. These are power arms coming out of the bullpen in almost every case. So it's just doesn't work that way anymore as much, unfortunately.
All right, Rockies and Mets. This one is in the Big Apple. You've got Ryan Feltner and Joey Lucchesi on the mound. Neither one of these guys is what we would call a strikeout pitcher here. A lot of potential contact in this game. How are you feeling about this? Because Colorado almost unowned today as an offensive option. I'm not a believer in Lucchesi. The field has been with him early this season. That's going to start to dissipate, I would think. He's going to regress to his true talent level, if you will. But how are you feeling about these pitchers? It looks like another decent spot to attack.
Yeah, I'll be throwing Mets bats at Ryan Feltner. I think nothing of him whatsoever here. Seems like an opportunity to me. Mets are showing some decent power marks against them. Overall for this season, a 4.49 xFIP, 22.7% strikeout rate, like at best league average type numbers with way too many walks. There was power in the equation last year in his 19 starts and 97 and a third innings. He only struck out 19%, gave up a 42.8% hard hit, 3.74% home run rate, 1.41 whip. So plenty of meat on the bone to justify targeting Feltner here. Lucchesi's a weird one. He did, 2 years ago, 38 and a third before he got hurt in 8 starts, had a 26.1% strikeout rate. Surprised the world when he came back in that first start and pitched, I think it was 7 innings and struck out 9, I want to say. But then the next 2 starts, it went less than 5 innings and struck out like 1 and 2. So I think that's more the starter that we're dealing with. I think that's going to be his outlier start for this season. I'm not rostering Lucchesi here. I wouldn't quibble with it. The Rockies are really, really bad. If somebody had a great lean on Lucchesi, they were a huge Mets fan, whatever, fine. But you're not really getting him cheap, 8,200, 8,300, and he's getting ownership, 20% owned on DK. That doesn't feel very good for that price. If he was like 6,500, sure, take your shots. But at 82, I think we can do better. He projects in the middle of the board because it's a good matchup. So like, I wouldn't be shocked to see 5 good innings out of him with a handful of strikeouts, but I don't think we're getting that Slate winning score from him for these prices. So not really a great spot for me. At the same time, I don't really need Rockies bats. If I was going to this team, I'd be looking at some of the righty power, Randall Grichuk, Chris Bryant, CJ Cron. Most specifically, bottom end is pretty weak. My favorite name from the bottom half of the lineup is probably Brenton Doyle after Ryan McMahon as the cutoff point. So 1 through 5 plus Brenton Doyle, maybe. Maybe if you want to work some Tovar in there for some stolen base upside, but it's not a great lineup. So maybe some of the righties, but Mets side, Nimmo, one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball. Lindor has not been great this year, but he is great in general. Jeff McNeil, kind of weird hitter to find hitting third, but a great hit tool, somebody who can correlate with Pete Alonso. Brett Batty, fantastic hitter, still only 2,800 on both sites. He is going to be a star very soon. He was hitting in the bottom of the lineup the other day since his call up, and the day that I said we'll see him higher up in the lineup soon, he was promoted to 6th. Today he's hitting 5th. Kid's a stud. Get him in your Met stacks. Vogelback, Kana are fine as mix and match pieces for cheap. Guillaume and Alvarez are here for defense and a fill-in for injuries. So don't need those 2 guys.
All right, let's hit the old like button here. We have almost 600 people watching. That's pretty cool. Just got to 100 likes. Let's run that up to 150. We also have a show coming up after us, 2:30. You're going to get the NBA live before lock. We have the 3:30 game, and then I think it's a 8 o'clock tip-off tonight. So we've got a lot of basketball to check out. We're in I think day 2 of a 6-day stretch of 2 game slates. So enjoy it, because we're going to be down to single game slates before you know it. So don't forget to tune in at 2:30. That is the NBA live before lock. Also, if you guys want to get some free Stokastic premium content, go to stokastic.com/avatar, download that Stokastic avatar, upload that to your DFS site of choice. And if you place top 3 in a contest with at least 5,000 people, that's no ties. You got to be first, second, or third. No ties. You will get 30 days of Stokastic premium content if you take a screenshot and tweet it to Stokastic HOF. That's the Stokastic Hall of Fame, and you'll get Laffy reading you a shout out on air. So that's always fun to have as well. All right, Terry, just a couple more games to go here. We've got the Athletics and Royals. You've got Mason Miller, who I will let you say nice things about. I'm going to say some not so nice things about our friend. I almost said
Ryan Yarbrough.
I almost said Cale Yarbrough because that's wrong sport. Many decades ago, he's stock car.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say maybe a hockey player from like the 70s that I didn't know. Stock car, yeah, that's way outside my.
Yeah, it was back when NASCAR was the Winston Cup, and you had to smoke cigarettes when you were on victory lane. So, in any event, Ryan Yarbrough, it kind of looked like he's throwing batting practice. Even as Tampa Bay, he was given an opener. Even in his Tampa Bay days, he was given an opener. We talked about that. We talked why that was important. Tampa Bay did a good job of kind of hiding him. He's 31. Some people still consider him like, oh, he must be a prospect or he must be something. No, he's not a good pitcher. He'll probably hang around for a couple more years as a reliever, but he should not be in a starting rotation. But this is Kansas City, right? I mean, you've got this is where the Zach Greinke's of the world are still hanging around. So they're desperate for arms. The three guys you want to go to today, I have to pull up their lineup, make sure they're all in. But Brett Rooker, Jesus Aguilar was on my short list. He's not in the lineup, is he?
Aguilar's
there we go. Rooker, Aguilar, and Ramon Laureano. Laureano missed some time earlier this season, but he's back. Those guys are incredibly discounted on DraftKings. They're popping up in all sorts of lineups.
Those guys are appropriately priced on both sites. Rooker's way too expensive on FanDuel for their talents. For their current year production,
for this spot.
Maybe they're cheap. In this spot, because of the warm weather and the wind blowing out. Sure.
3,800.
Those guys all suck.
3,500.
Those guys suck.
Tomorrow we're gonna have
no
Nestor Cortez going against them tomorrow. Today we're gonna play them. From
an MLB DFS point, they are most definitely playable for these prices. Rooker is too expensive at 4,000 on FanDuel. I don't care what he's done so far this year. He's got a 36% whiff rate on every type of pitch. He is going to crash and burn very soon. This is not sustainable for him. That said, he's been great. So play him, feel free. They're going up against Yarbrough. You definitely want to be a part of it. The hitting conditions are great. The wind is blowing out. It's 90 something degrees there. Absolute smash spot for bats in general. I'm going to be on the Royals side of this one. I'm also going to be on the Mason Miller side, though, like I said. So that's a firm both sides are for me. Love the cheap prices at the bottom of the lineup for the Royals, but I don't really like any of the names. Mike Massey's okay. I don't love Michael Garcia, Nate Eaton, Jackie Bradley Jr., but I really like the top five for the Royals. There's a lot of power in that lineup. They are all cheap. So I'll be getting to a fair amount of Royals, but Mason Miller, 7,600, 7,700 to only be owned in the single digits against a free swinging Kansas City team. That's also something I want to be a part of. This is an apex pitching prospect. This kid is filthy. He sits 99, can hit 105 with his fastball. He's got a wipeout plus slider. I mean, this kid is elite when it comes to pitching talent. 28.3% strikeout rate over his first 15 and a third in the bigs, a 0.98 whip in that tiny sample, has yet to give up a home run, but he is showing a lot of power upside for the Kansas City side. He's walked too many so far, 10% walk rate, 4.59 xFIP, a 3.52 ERA. There have been, flaws. It's kid finding his way. He's on Oakland. So, I mean, what can we expect really? But I really like this kid in terms of his talent. And I do think there is a decent chance for him to bend a slate with a very high score here. So I'll be both sidesing that one a lot, because I really like the power numbers in the Bobby Witt, Pasquantino, Sal Perez, MJ Melendez, and my guy Nick Prado, who I've been shouting out all week and got me a home run the other day. So really like those five hitters plus Mike Massey on the Royal side of things.
Do you think this Miller is better than the Seattle version of Miller time?
It's close. I had both of those guys on my watch list for this year, along with the two kids from Cleveland who came up. So it's been fun watching all these prospects get promoted early in the season. So starting with the Grayson Rodriguez from Baltimore, in the first week. So they've just been aggressively bringing these kids up. I think right now, Bryce might be more refined. The Seattle kid, I think he's got a little bit more going for him in control and command right now. But in terms of pure stuff, Mason Miller's the premium guy. And we saw those two have a duel the other day. Their last starts were against one another. They both put up very good starts. So it was nice to see Mason Miller come through against the much tougher Mariners lineup. And then Bryce Miller had a great start against this pathetic A's lineup. So that should be one to watch for the better part of the next couple decades with those guys. So
yeah, that's pretty cool that we're getting the new influx. We're waving goodbye to the Zach Greinke's, the Justin Verlanders, the Max Scherzers, kind of
offering them rides to the airport, whatever they need to get out of town.
Yes. All right. Anything else, or can we jump on to the next one?
No, I mean, I talked about Brent Rooker. That's the rest of that A's lineup is not overly good. Esteury Ruiz can steal some bases up top. Ryan Noda is having himself an okay little season. He's 165 WRC plus, certainly has been creating runs, a 225 ISO, 3 home runs and 103 plate appearances. So Noda's fine. Aguilar, you mentioned Ramon Laureano. Carlos Perez, if you need a cheap catcher, is the dead minimum on DK with these great hitting conditions. He's slashing 326, 362, 442 with a 129 WRC plus and 47 plate appearances. Maybe you can go there for the dead minimum price if you want a cheap catcher on DK. I don't love the Jordan Diaz, Kevin Smith, Nick Allen portion of this lineup.
All right, Alex Faedo. This is going to be an interesting one. 27 years old. He was actually drafted out of high school in the 40th round by the Tigers back in 2014. Terry, he said, you know what? I'm going to go to college, going to go see what they know. Played in the SEC with Florida for 3 years and then was drafted, 18th overall by the Tigers this time. So he has had a meandering path to the majors. He is made 5 starts this season for the Toledo Mud Hens. I believe they're still the Mud Hens. Just 18 innings in those 5 starts. Feels like this is a good spot for the Cardinals bats. And then Steven Matz, our default SP2 today. Never great. The Detroit Tigers are god awful against righties. They are almost average. At least they can almost reach out and touch average against lefties.
I think is it 102 WRC plus as an active roster against lefties, if I remember correctly from this morning. So slightly above average. They were 16th ranked for WRC plus, but they don't hit for any power. They're inept overall. So yeah, I'm totally with you. The Matt side of the pitching equation is definitely where I want to be. He actually projects out okay for me, and he's cheap, 6,600, 7,400. This is a guy who, 26.1% strikeout rate in 48 innings last year in 10 starts before getting hurt, 22.3% over 150 and 2/3 in 29 starts the year before that. He's been a good, not great pitcher who was more highly regarded on his way up as a young kid and then never really got there, but also wasn't a total washout. Like, he's been a productive major league starter over time. He's around the league average starter going up against one of the worst lineups in baseball. And most of Detroit's better hitters are lefties. I'm thinking of Riley Green. We don't have whatever the hell the other kid's name is, who doesn't matter because he's not in the lineup. They're going heavily right-handed today, right? So we've got Matt Vierling, Javi Baez, who's struggling, Spencer Torkelson, who's terrible as a first overall pick, Eric Haas, Miguel Cabrera, who died 5 years ago. It's not a good lineup. So I'll take my shots with Mats for price here, even with the ownership on him. And then, totally. Like I wrote about Fado this morning, some guys just tell you right up front, and it's right in his name. Just Fado.
Yeah.
No need for him.
No need. I see what you did there, and I approve of that. Yikes. This is just not a good lineup here. On the other side, though, you've got, how can the Cardinals find more ways to lose? That's the interesting thing to see. They've just melting down constantly. Wilson Contreras, they're talking about just not playing him at catcher anymore. Maybe putting him in as a designated hitter / potentially in the outfield. They already have a crowded outfield, and that's who's hurt. Tyler O'Neill is hurt. This is Cardinals fans. This is a rough
This
season.
is a very good team that has not been very good this year.
$87 million contract, and they're talking about making him a part-time player.
They're not even talking about it. It's a done deal. He's their full-time DH, part-time outfielder, maybe get some backup catcher starts now. That is how you make this lineup worse, by forcing in Andrew Knizer in the and going with a second catcher. Wilson Contreras, you can absolutely regard as an everyday player. He could be, essentially like a first baseman, corner infield type guy in terms of his profile at the plate. His defense is just sucked behind the plate, so they've got to go with a different catcher. So now they've got just a dead spot in the lineup, a lineup that used to go 9 strong and turn over really well. They're building in a dead spot in that lineup. So it's a weird decision, but I think they feel like they've got to do it to manage their pitching staff better right now. which could potentially play in Matt's favor.
Yeah, it's just an interesting development there. But top, we'll include Contreras here. Top 5 in that lineup is pretty good. Even Brendan Donovan, solid option there at coming out of the top 6. So I think those guys.
Brendan, I play literally every position on Yahoo Fantasy. Donovan, love him. He's on basically every one of my 30 teams because of that utility ability to put him in any position. But yeah, I mean, this lineup for me runs 1 through 8 still. Like, I love Lars Nootbaar hitting first. Obviously, the Goldschmidt, Gorman, Arenado, Contreras core is fine. And then Donovan, Carlson, and Edman. I'm fine with any one of those guys. I don't know that I want all 3 of them in a lineup, but any one of them. And my favorite out of those guys would be Edman, even though he's hitting 8th. Just a player that I really like. Steals bases, decent hit tool, hits for a decent amount of power. So I like Tommy Edman in basically any spot in the lineup. He's getting a little bit of ownership attention. Maybe that leads me to more Donovan and Carlson above him in the lineup, but none of them are overly highly owned, and they're all pretty good players.
All right. One more way to get some free Stokastic premium. If you guys have not yet signed up for BetMGM, you can do so by going through the link in the YouTube description here, or by using promo code PlatinumSub. You'll get, you sign up. And when you make your first $10 wager, if you've used that promo code PlatinumSub or come in through our link, you will get 30 days of Stokastic premium. As soon as you make your first $10 wager and it settles, they will send you a promo code that gets you 30 days of all access Stokastic premium. Check that out. Your first wager is also backed by bet credits if you lose up to $1,000, but you only have to wager 10 to get this promotion. But check that out. That's over there at the BetMGM Sportsbook. A reminder, the age for gambling in most states is 21 or older. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Last game here, Terry, we've got, I got the trade of the century. I slid Sandy Alcantara off my team. Got some Jamoke in one of my fantasy leagues to take him here. And he's
sucker that guy must be.
He is, well, the guy even offered the trade to me.
Wait, he came up with the trade?
Yes.
He was like, I want Sandy Alcantara on my team for some ungodly reason.
Yes. And
in a league where innings pitched is a big category.
It's glorious. It's glorious.
Of course that backfired on me. Hey, where's Brandon Lau ranked in second base rankings in that league? Gotta be up near the top with an OPS.
He's doing pretty good. Yeah. He's doing pretty good. Yeah.
Everybody criticized you for that trade. It was a great trade on your part.
Yeah, I'm doing victory laps on that one where I can.
You should be. You should be. My concerns with Sandy
since you now have Alcantara on your fantasy team, what are your concerns?
So I mean, they are what they were coming into that trade, and I think we even talked about it at the time. My big issue with Sandy Cy Young last year is that it was something of a compiled award, right? He was very, very good in limiting hits. He had a 0.98 whip, a 5.6% walk rate. He was spectacular, 2.28 ERA. His xFIP was 3.29, which is a little bit more telling for where the quality was, but he avoided premium contact. Like, he was really, really good. But he threw 228 and 2/3 innings, which was like 20 and change more than any other starter in the league, essentially like 4 or 5 extra starts to get him to his lofty strikeout totals. He was a 23.4% strikeout pitcher last year, 24% the year before in 205 and 2/3 innings. Also a very good season. He is a very good pitcher, but he benefits from pitching deep into games. And if he's getting hit early in games, he doesn't get deep into games. So that's having an impact here. We've got over 35 and a third this year in 6 starts, 28.7% strikeout rate, a 4.37 xFIP. The contact profile has been all right. 13.7% swinging strike rate. I like that's actually up from last year, but the CSW is down a little bit, 26.6% CSW. There are concerns here for Sandy. That said, the price is down in conjunction with the declining numbers. I still get a good projection for him. He's going up against a Cubs lineup that's been very good overall this year. There are strikeouts for him on the table. The wind is blowing in at Wrigley, so I do think it's a good spot for Sandy to get right here, find a good strikeout total. He's getting a little bit of attention, but I think it's warranted. Still believe, but yeah, definitely some cause for concern with the dip in overall numbers.
Usman says EMac does season-long MLB2 LMAO. Yes, this is my 35th year of season-long fantasy baseball. Chat's now going to be like, holy
in the best league in the country.
Yeah, I've been playing fantasy baseball since before most of chat was born. So.
Yes.
Just throwing that out there. All righty. So we I'm sorry, I was busy laughing at that. But did you talk about Wisniewski at all?
I didn't.
So
actually,
he's coming in
go
as
ahead.
an SP2.
Yeah, which I think is
It's
justified at 56, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
it's more of a price thing. And the Marlins lineup isn't bad as we've seen in some years, but it's not great either. And not a ton of strikeouts in my with like Arias in there and Jazz Chisholm and those guys. That it's okay. It's kind of like the I would equate it to like the Mariners lineup. Aside from Rodriguez, no real terrifying hitter. They're all okay, right? It's not like the Detroit Tigers lineup or the Oakland Athletics for the most part, except for today only when we were going with them.
Today, the last 2 days, that's it.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I'm landing on Wisniewski here. So
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. And I tell you what, I think Wisniewski is actually probably a little bit better than what we've seen from him this year. Last year in 4 starts, 33 innings, so take it for what it's worth, small sample size, 25% strikeout rate compared to a 13.8 in 28 and a third this year in 6 starts. I think there's a little bit more on the bone just looking at his stuff. He's got a great slider. So I think he'll put things together in the long term for more strikeouts and a little bit better upside overall. Going up against this Marlins lineup, like you said, there's a certain limitation around strikeouts. If you look at the average with Luis Arias in there and Julie Gurriel in there, they're both absurdly good. And I'll throw Gene Segura into that mix too at 15%. There's a lot of other guys in that lineup though. Jazz Chisholm, 27% strikeouts, Jorge Soler, 29, Jesus Sanchez, 26, Brian De La Cruz, 25. So there's also some hefty strikeout rates in there. So it comes down in the average. And Arias has the best hit tool in baseball. He's sitting over 120 plate appearances. He's got a 430 batting average right now, 430, 483, 533. Just he's been absurd for hit tool and run creation, but he doesn't have power. There's a couple power bats to worry about, but yeah, I think there's a path to at worst a cost-based opportunity for Wisniewski. 7,000 on FanDuel on the single pitcher site. He's drawing 2% ownership. There might be enough to get you there as a value play, depending on what bats you can string it together with. You'd have to win it with bats, I think, but it might unlock a few combinations that these other starters don't unlock. So he's not off the board for me on FanDuel. He's certainly more interesting at 5,600 on DK. I actually think the ownership at 11% is maybe a little light over there for this matchup. So I like that spot for Wisniewski at 56 as an SP2 on DK. This team in Wrigley with the wind blowing in, kind of a nice spot.
Yeah, I'm ending up with 16% of Wisniewski on DK. I ended up with 16% Lucchesi, the Garrett Cole leading the way at 39, Matt's at 39, Sandy at 31, Joe Ryan at 17. So I'm purposefully trying to go with the more popular pitchers. I'm trying to go under what we're projecting the field on. That usually ends up working out well. It has not been working out for me this year. I'm in this dreadful slump for baseball. We see Steve Buzzard on an absolute tear of all tears, heater of all heaters in multiple sports. And here I am. It's like, well, I'm down like $1,000 in baseball already. That usually doesn't happen. I usually nickel and dime my way up to about $1,000 a month in baseball. It's just like, wow, this just has not been working out. But if you don't finish, first in some of these contests and you just miss out, and I've been playing for a lot of tickets, a lot of winner take alls and stuff like that, and just missing, it really starts to show in your bank.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, it can add up fast. And that's what we're dealing with, right? It's baseball. It is a super variant sport. You have to take the losses with the wins, and you gotta kind of ride it out. But yeah, I'm with you on that. It's been a matter of finding the right value pitchers and string them together with the right combinations of bats that haven't always been the obvious name so far this year. Guys like Brent Rooker and so on. So yeah, it's been a bit of a weird start this year, but I have faith in the long term that everything normalizes and we'll be fine.
I see somebody asking me about Call of Duty lineups. We actually don't have Call of Duty projections, but we've got projections for everything else. Oh, that reminds me. We mentioned Steve Buzzard there. So you can get 3 days of full premium Stokastic for just $5. That's it.
Promo code for that?
The promo code is May Bundle, or you can click the link in the description of the YouTube chat. But that's a good way to get in if you're a new user on Stokastic. Come in, kick the tires, check things out. Behind the paywall. We don't have Call of Duty projections, but I still play, right? Because I got to get my DK points in here, my crowns. Today I think you want to go with Hydra. That is my recommendation. Hail Hydra. Yeah. So that would be on the NYS team. So he's anchoring my cash game lineup, if you will, for Call of Duty. I also think his teammate Kismet is a good play as well. So those are the guys I'll
tell you who's not a good play for Call of Duty is if you ever see me out there. I'm that guy who's just spinning in the corner, like into the air,
shooting up
at me, and I just respawn and die over and over again. I haven't even tried to play those games in years. I'm not a good first-person shooter player. I'm still a big gamer, but FPS is not for me.
Yeah, Ma Dove says, "Hey, I was just asking because we seem to be in those same contests." Yeah, I play them so I can get my crowns, and I move on. But I send Terry the screenshots. I actually can make competent lineups now for Call of Duty and CS:GO.
He keps on winning.
It's pretty funny.
He's got no idea what they are.
It's the old. I recognize enough of the names like Call of Duty or pardon me, CS:GO. Right. See, I can't even say the game right. I thought it was CS:GO for the longest.
What does that stand for?
Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Oh, look at
that! I do.
All right.
So no, Brokey, Frozen, and Ropes. Those make me laugh, so I play them a lot. Frozen Ropes, like it's a baseball.
I was gonna say, Frozen and Ropes are two different guys. All right.
So that works out well. So yeah, I don't know. I do enough to make the crowns and I don't lose money at it. So and I send Terry screenshots of me turning in a dollar or two into $9 every now and then, which is just hilarious.
It's like what your comment back to our pal Clay on Twitter was the other day, right? He's mastering that just low entry fee, but profit, low entry fee, profit, turns $9 into $56. Maybe it's not the most exciting screenshot in the world, but dude wins like multiple times a week and is making money. And I'm sure he's probably profitable on the lower end. It's just an example of how you can use the tools. You don't need to be entering these crazy, 40,000 people contests and not winning day after day. Enter some other stuff, lower buy-ins, spread your money out, and you can definitely book some wins. I basically check my Twitter notifications to see whether or not Clay had a good night. This is the only time I get notifications is if he had a good night. He copies me on those tweets.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for the slate. Locks in 3 minutes here. Keep an eye on the weather. Looks like that Toronto-Pittsburgh game is going to start up, right? Yeah, that one's starting in a delay, but we're expecting that, and it looks like it'll clear later this afternoon. So that'll be a good one. That
was the preferred scenario for that one, was a delay and then start later on when it was clean. So that's good news.
All right. Mike Campbell wants to know when Steve Buzzard's book comes out. Well, you guys can get him in once a week. He does office hours in the Slack chat. And he answers all sorts of questions, helps people tweak things, tells them what he's looking at, how he does different stuff, etc., how to use the tools. So that's very, very helpful. So you use that promo code May Bundle, and you can get in for $5 for 3 days, and you'll get the Discord. I call it Slack, but the Discord.
Yeah, I think Discord and Slack prefer that you would keep them separate. They're directly competing businesses, but
I Slack Steve Buzzard all the time because
we're still in
Stokastic uses Slack, but everything else is Discord.
Well, that was what the public wanted. We had to get that done. Just decided to move the entire site over to Discord one night on a Sunday, I think. But Steve is great at getting into those channels and sharing his strategy, and just super nice guy. I don't know Steve all that well, but from the interactions that he and I have had, he's always been a good guy, and just seeing him in our Discord helping people out and doing those office hour sessions, and the way that he answers questions and goes about it, like you can tell he cares. So it's nice to see a guy like that do all that winning.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to get on out of here. Follow Terry on Twitter at DigitalB21. I am at EMac DFS. It is Stokastic_COM. 2:30, 1 hour from now. NBA Live before lock. Mike Lawrence, go have fun at the baseball.
Go, Mikey, go.
Today. With that, gamers, good luck.
Don't fall into the bullpen.